Well, greetings and salutations, and welcome once again to the Newsman Weekly Podcast, episode number 32. Think of the famous number 32s in NFL history. Jim Brown.
Okay. I'm really bad with numbers.
O.J. Simpson.
Oh, wow.
You know, I just started watching a new documentary about O.J. Simpson the other day, and
What else can you learn about the OJ thing that you haven't already?
well, it's interesting because it pointed out some of the things that, like, detectives didn't do right that could have made a better criminal case against OJ, like evidence they didn't collect and things like that. And it's interesting because it shows a lot of dissension between or among the detectives who investigated the double killings. But
what service is it on? Netflix?
Mac? Netflix. Also watched a cool thing on Netflix over the weekend. It's called The Menu. It was
I've seen it.
2022. At the beginning, it kind of looks like a horror film, but it's more of a satire and a comedy than it is anything else, even though there's death and some dismemberment and things like that. Highly recommend The Menu. So, Hey, everybody, thanks for joining us again. I got distracted for a moment on this weekly audio journalism adventure. Thanks also once again to local country singer Luke Watson for crafting this show's theme song. Big news for fans of Luke. Got some great news for you. He's going to be joining us in studio in a couple of weeks. And yes, he's going to bring his guitar. We're going to talk about his music, and we'll share some of that music with you here on the podcast. That episode will drop on February 18th. So Luke Watson fans, mark your calendars now.
We can see what he thinks about Beyonce taking home Best Country Album last night at the Grammys. Did you watch any of the Grammys last night?
I did not. I've missed the Grammys for like the last 30 years. So
yeah, see, I've got three girls in my house, so and Chapel Roan was playing and Taylor Swift was there, so there was no way it wasn't going to be on in my household. Yeah,
I did see a news story on the awards, and it did not look like T Swift picked up any Grammys last night.
Well, Sabrina won Best Pop Vocal Album. So
that's Sabrina. I mean Taylor Swift.
No, I did not watch the whole 4 hour, so I don't know. But
well, until I hear otherwise, I'm going to go with the news flash that Taylor Swift got skunked in this year's Grammy Awards. So if I'm wrong, I apologize, T Swift fans.
Sorry, Mariah.
Yeah, sorry, Mariah. Hey, in case you hadn't noticed, today I'm once again joined by Zac Hiser.
Walks away empty-handed. Yep, I just looked it up.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, T Swift, empty-handed. Nothing. So hopefully the Chiefs lose the Super Bowl on Sunday, and they can all ride off winless into the sunset together. Anyway, Zac Hiser's here, the executive producer of the Newsman Weekly. Good morning, Zac.
Morning.
I saw your beloved Cleveland Cavaliers pulled out a narrow win on Sunday to break what had been a crushing losing streak. Barely above 500 now at 40-9. Are you still feeling good about your chances now that Luka Doncic has joined LeBron James in Los Angeles?
Yeah, what a trade. What a weekend. I couldn't believe it. That trade took place, that was like late Saturday night?
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah, I woke up my wife's Sunday morning. I was like, honey, wake up. Luka traded the Lakers. And
wait,
she was
you woke your wife up on Sunday morning to tell her about an NBA trade?
Immediately. I was like, Luka went to the Lakers. And she was like, who?
You're really testing the vows that, you know, love, honor, but don't wake me up on Sunday morning for an NBA trade. Well, the nice thing I liked about that trade is, you know, players have kind of taken over that league in terms of empowerment. You know, we do what we want. What Jimmy Butler's wanting out of Miami, which is the third team he's forced his way out of. And here we have Luka Doncic, who's a great basketball player.
Yes, he is.
But has made noise, you know, that he doesn't want to come play for Dallas anymore when this contract's over, and not in the best of shape. His fitness isn't what it should be. He's missed some games this year because of that, and you know, he's basically become kind of disgruntled. Mm-hmm. So when the Dallas Mavericks traded him to the Lakers, he lost the right to a Supermax contract. Mm-hmm. So it cost him about $100 million in potential contract earnings.
And
he also went from a state in Texas that has a very low income tax rate to the state of California, which has bend you over a table tax rate.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, but you know, Yeah, we'll see who gets the last laugh. I mean, I wouldn't trade away a 25-year-old superstar that's maybe one of the most accomplished players under 25 the league's ever seen. But
I don't have any idea.
We'll see how it works out.
I don't have any idea about how it's going to work out in terms of wins and losses. I'm just glad to see, rightly or wrongly, some ownership finally got a chance to get even with the Player Empowerment League that is now the NBA. Hey, also back with us today, very quiet thus far, doing his homework, is Knox Pages reporter Grant Ritchey, this show's official videographer for at least one more week.
Yeah.
Ritchie, what in the world is going on down at Mount Vernon Nazarene University?
So we got this news late January. It was the 30th, so I think that was Thursday. Yeah. The faculty at the Nazarene placed a vote of no confidence for the president, Carson Castleman, citing hostile work environment, issues of communication, minimalization of academic voices, freedom, unprofessional ethical behaviors. So that happened. That news came out Thursday night. So it's pretty unprecedented. It caused a lot of buzz in Mount Vernon.
Well, didn't the board come back with some kind of a rebuttal, or at least a statement on Friday?
Yeah, the next day, the board trustees they're basically kind of explaining, and when they hired him in November, that they put a plan together to balance the budget for the next couple of years by 28-29 school year, and to restructure employee population and a way to maintain the financial stability of the university. So that's led to some disgruntlement with faculty, and they put a quote together saying that the board investigated complaints received from faculty members, and they've reviewed them. Many other sources of information. We have concluded the evidence provided in totality does not support the existence of an environment that rises to levels of being hostile or unlawful, as characterized by some. So
that's interesting. So the faculties issued a statement Thursday night, and by sometime on Friday, the Board of Trustees had done a thorough and exhaustive investigation into those allegations and come back and said, nope, nothing to see here, move on, everybody.
Yeah, it's definitely something to follow up on, get more clarity on what the board investigated, and we'll definitely be looking into it more.
There you have it, folks. Grant Ritchey and Cheryl Splain down at Knox Pages, tracking relentlessly the ongoing saga that has now enveloped the Mount Vernon Nazarene University president. So, well, folks, we have a great show planned today. In just a few minutes, we'll be joined by Tami Robinson, founder of the local nonprofit Love Our Heroes. Her organization does indeed love and support local military veterans. She's got a big fundraiser coming up, and we want you to know how you can support it. So stay tuned for that. But let's talk about some local news here first, since this is the Newsman Weekly podcast. Richland County Sheriff's Office is investigating a dead body that was found Sunday morning near Richland B&O Trail, south of Lexington. Someone was on the trail with their dog, and the dog left the trail and discovered the frozen body 50 or 6 feet to the west. I talked to the Richland County Coroner's Office yesterday, Tom Stortz, one of their investigators. He said it appeared the frozen body had been there for some time, didn't have any identification on it. When I talked to Richland County Sheriff's Office Major Joe Massey, also yesterday, he said they believe it may be the body of a 25-year-old Ashland County man from Polk, whose car was found apparently abandoned on January 8th behind Der Dutchman restaurant in Bellville, which is just a few miles away. Tomorrow they'll take the body down to the Montgomery County Coroner's Office for autopsy, but Massey told me Sunday that the body appears to be James Beardley of Polk, Ohio. He left a residence on Columbus on January 5th to travel back to Polk, but never arrived. Authorities said his dad discovered the car behind the restaurant on January 8th. The restaurant was closed for remodeling at the time. So stay tuned for that. We'll have more news as that kind of develops.
Oh, that's right, because that car that was found abandoned, they never found the body, did they?
Right, never found.
And so now they're connecting it to this. Interesting.
Exactly. According to the Ohio Department of Transportation, And this is listen up out there if you're a roundabout hater, because we're about to talk about the goodness of roundabouts.
Bunch of commies.
Yes, a 1.5. But I don't see people why people call it communist, because you turn right. I mean, if you had to turn left, that would be communism.
That's what they want you to think.
Okay. Anyway, ODOT said Thursday that a $1.5 million roundabout at the intersection of Cook, Illinois and Mansfield-Lucas roads has greatly reduced accidents since it opened in August of 2022. The single-lane traffic control device has helped reduce accidents by 40% at the intersection, now averaging 3 per year. Perhaps more importantly, there have been 0 injury crashes at the site, and that means like number 0, Ritchie, in case you were trying to look that one up. From 2000.
What else would it be?
I don't know. You played in the marching band at OU. I don't know what you know about numbers. I'm just trying to help. Hey, from 2015 to 2018, when it was a 2-way stop sign controlled intersection, there were 21 crashes, averaging 5 per year, and of those, 15 resulted in injuries. So now that we've had a roundabout, which was almost fully funded through ODOT's Highway Safety Improvement Program, it is now a relatively safe intersection. No intersections are completely safe, but it's gone from the 6th worst in the county overall and the worst among the county's jurisdiction to one of the safest. So again, roundabout haters, guess what? They work. So don't tell me, well, just put a traffic light, because traffic lights don't work as well as roundabouts.
You can't really get T-boned. It kind of takes that away in a roundabout. If you do get in an accident, it's usually pretty mild.
Yeah, I mean,
is what I see from the data.
It is an absolute no-brainer. So if you're against them, reconsider your point. Hey, they had a Richland County mayoral panel last week that was hosted by the Richland Area Chamber and Economic Development. And one of the things that was a hot topic is housing development. They did a countywide housing study in 2023. And guess what? It outlined that we have a really bad need for more housing. Authors projected Richland County will need to add 2,475 owner-occupied units and 3,364 rental-occupied units by 2032. That same study found that new home construction rates in Richland County have failed to bounce back from the Great Recession. When they say Great Recession, I'm assuming they're talking 2008, 2009.
Right.
Ritchie
was a little baby for that.
Yeah, I've had like 7 Great Recessions in my lifetime. One of them was just last week, but that's a whole other story. You know, many of the county's new home construction in the last decade has been for single-family residences in rural parts of the county. But Mansfield Mayor Jody Perry said she believes high prices and housing shortages in Columbus are causing developers to take a second look at Richland County. She said, quote, "We've had several conversations with folks from all levels, luxury housing to affordable housing, workforce housing, and everything in between." She said, "I think we all sit far enough away from Columbus, we're not going to get swallowed up, much like Delaware County and some of the closer ones have. We can maintain our identities if we do it thoughtfully." One of those developments, Mayor Terry Brinkus of Bellville, said the developer behind Urban Meadows is gearing up for a second phase of home construction on the village's south end. The neighborhood currently includes 20 custom-built homes equipped with eco-friendly and smart technology features. I have no idea what any of that means, but, man, it looks good when you read it.
That's when you tell your toaster, like, hey, make me toast.
Mm-hmm. And they've also, Steve Herring, Valley View Farms Development, they are working on a housing development there that will hopefully construct between 1,000 and 1,200 housing units near the Ohio 97 I-71 interchange. Would be a mix of townhome condos, patio home condos, apartments, and single-family homes across about 100 acres of land. Herring said he and the village officials have been discussing the project for several years. Quote, "It's going very slow to this point, but we're excited. We think we're very close on getting zoning approval." And I think when they put in the new lift station down in Bellville off of 9771, close to where they hope to build the
sports complex.
The sports complex for the YMCA, that housing development is something that they had in mind as well. Mansfield Perry also highlighted ongoing developments in the Mansfield area, including a senior living community on Klein Avenue, an expansion by Tower Lakes Condominium Association, and another series of condos near Westbrook Country Club. So housing is kind of a big deal. And, Katie Ellington Sorrow did a great job on that story, and another story from that mayoral conference. So if you'd like to learn more about those, go back and look at last week's Richland Source. Speaking of last week, Bradley Fisher, age 32, of Mansfield, faces at least 7 felony charges after a traffic stop led to a car chase and a crash into a Richland County Sheriff's cruiser on Thursday. Metrich said in a press release Fisher was jailed and charged with several felonies, including failure to comply, trafficking in fentanyl, trafficking in cocaine, possession of fentanyl, possession of cocaine, child endangerment, and illegal manufacture of drugs. They're going to send the case off to the prosecutor's office for maybe additional charges. According to authorities, Metrich detectives conducted an investigation into illegal drugs entering and being distributed in Richland County. Assisted by Richland County Sheriff's deputies and Mansfield Police, they stopped a 2015 GMC Yukon on Fifth Avenue at US 30. It was being operated by Fisher. Deputies made contact with Fisher, and after a brief dialogue, he fled in his vehicle and was involved in a crash with a sheriff's cruiser a short distance away from the traffic stop, where he was indeed apprehended. Mansfield Police had a canine out there, Canine Max. Max alerted on the vehicle. Ritchie, that means he stopped and looked at the car and said, "I think there's dope here, boss."
They always use these these cop, these law enforcement words, just like use these like layman words, like how you're using.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to. I wasn't sure. Yeah.
Inside baseball lingo.
He stopped and said, "Think there's dope here, boss." And they found 2 ounces of suspected cocaine then during a search. Metrich detectives, assisted by the sheriff's office, then did a search warrant that the Mansfield Municipal Court Judge David Badnell signed for his residence over on Bechtel Avenue. That search resulted in the seizure of about 5,000 grams, 5 kilos, of suspected illegal drugs, 9mm handgun, about $22,000 in U.S. currency, and other drug-related evidence. So
they send these drugs to the labs, right? And then, what do they do with them afterward? Do they just, throw them away?
Well, they test them to confirm what they are. They keep them if they're needed as evidence in a trial. And then once they're done, they destroy them.
Okay.
They don't sell them at the
I know.
The Metrich the coffee shop. You just stop in.
That's not a bad idea, though.
Yeah. It's illegal, but what the heck.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's enough for now. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Tami Robinson, founder of the Love Our Heroes nonprofit organization. Stay with us. Well, welcome back to the Newsman Weekly podcast. Joining us now is Tami Robinson, founder of the local nonprofit group Love Our Heroes. Tami, thanks for joining us today and so darn early in the morning.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, first of all, happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
I saw it on your organization's Facebook page that your birthday was Friday.
It was.
Congratulations on another successful trip around the sun.
Thank you.
As I get older, I realize how utterly invaluable these trips are as we go. So I always like to celebrate those. Now, let's kind of start at the beginning. Tell us about yourself. Where are you from originally? What'd you do before you launched the nonprofit? And why are military veterans so important to your life?
So before this, I was just a stay-at-home mom, taking kids to soccer practice and going to the grocery store, that kind of thing. I had never owned a business before, nor a nonprofit. And I was kind of at a crossroads in my life when this all came about. I was married for 17 years to an alcoholic and an addict. And quite honestly, I contemplated suicide in December of 2018. And I, honestly, this is the true story. I fell to my knees and I said, okay, God, if this is all you have for me, this is what I'm doing and this is when I'm doing it. And I said, I need a purpose. I need something to do. And the next morning I woke up and I knew who I was supposed to help and how I was supposed to get started. Other than that, I didn't know anything.
So where are you from originally? Are you from Richland County?
I am. I grew up in Mansfield and moved to the Bellville Butler area about, I'd say, 27, 28 years ago.
Okay, so did you go to Mansfield Senior? Did you go to Malabar? Or?
Madison. Do not hold that against me.
I don't hold it against. But that's weird because when people say Mansfield, I usually think back in the day it was either Malabar or Mansfield Senior, but Madison's obviously a very good choice. Go Rams.
Yeah, go Rams.
So how did you actually decide that I'm going to start a nonprofit and it's going to benefit military veterans? And again, why are veterans? Why veterans in terms of a group that you want to support?
I honestly didn't choose. When I woke up that following morning, I knew who I was supposed to help. And in my mind, it wasn't to start a nonprofit or a business. I started with $690, and I just rented my first space, and I started selling my own items. And I was going to give that money to the local American Legion in Bellville. That was my plan. That's not what actually happened, but that was the plan I had in mind.
So take us through what did actually happen.
So I started selling my own stuff. And
what sorts of stuff were you selling?
Household items. I went to flea markets and garage sales and thrift stores, and I just had collected a whole ton of stuff.
Okay.
And I started posting it on Facebook, and people would come in to purchase those items and ask me what I was doing. And that's how it all started. One person asked if they could donate items, and I was like, oh, yes, absolutely. And then that was January of 2019. By June of 2019, I had applied for the nonprofit status. It was going so well that I was like, okay, this might be something.
So initially you were just selling them out of your home?
Yeah, originally, yes.
Okay. Now, I know, tell us about some of the things that your organization now does to support veterans, either financially or otherwise.
So we have what we call a relationship with the VA. So most of our referrals come from them. We help with rent, utilities, food assistance. We have donated 4 vehicles, and we are currently in the process of building a brand new home for a veteran.
So this is not inexpensive. You guys are doing some decent fundraising if you're providing that kind of financial support.
We are. We have been trying, yes, from the beginning to raise as much money as we possibly can.
Now, I know that your organization now operates a donation-only thrift store on Bell Street down in Bellville. What made you decide to open that, and tell us exactly how that works?
So I started off in a 900 square foot building in 2019, and a year later we acquired a 9,000 square foot building in Bellville as well. And so donation only means that you come in and you pick your own price. So we don't price out. I can't say that we don't price anything. About 10% of the items are priced now, but most of the items are by monetary donation. And that's what funds us serving our veterans.
And what sorts of things do you sell out of the, or not sell, but distribute through the thrift store? What sorts of things can people go in there and look to obtain?
Household items, so furniture, appliances, artwork, tools, knickknacks, anything that you have in your home other than clothes, basically, we have in the thrift store.
Now, you went from someone who had no experience, I believe you said, in any kind of running a business or anything like that. Who has kind of helped you along the way in terms of figuring out how to do this? I assume as a nonprofit, you've got a board.
We do, yes.
And they help with that. But who's kind of helped mentor you along the way?
I have just reached out to other business owners and people in the community. I'm not trying to rewrite it. I'm just trying to learn what I'm supposed to do and move forward. So anybody that has advice for me, I will gladly take it. I am not opposed to help. I will take all the help I can get.
Well, I know operating in the town of Bellville, very patriotic community. One of the things I always notice when I cover Clear Fork high school home football games, they have a wonderful parading of the colors before the game. They have a lot of former veterans who participate in that. Is that something that's kind of helped your efforts down there, kind of that community's appreciation for the military?
Absolutely. I say that Love Our Heroes wouldn't be what it is today without the community in Bellville. They have been nothing but supportive of our mission. It's been wonderful.
Now, I know you've got a big fundraiser coming up. I think it's called the Supporting Veterans Purse Bingo event on March 8th at the Eastbrook Center on Fifth Avenue. It's not the first one of these purse bingo events you guys have put together. Why purse bingo? How do they work, and kind of what's the fundraising goal this time?
So this is our third one. Shauna reached out to me, and she said, hey, I want to do this purse bingo for you. I'm going to be honest, I had never been to a purse bingo. I had no idea what it was. And the amount of money that was able to be raised with that event, the first one, was unbelievable. And so going into our third one, we used the proceeds from the other two to help with the RON project, is what we called it, the building of a home for a veteran. And so now that we're fully funded on that, we are proceeding with that. Our plan is to continue. We want to build more houses and help more veterans. 70% of the veterans that we serve are transitioning from homelessness into an apartment. And I think it's up to us to fix that, to help that. So that's what our goal is with this fundraiser coming up.
Now, I've never been to a purse bingo event, I must confess. So kind of explain to those of us in this audience and in this room and listening to this podcast, how does it work? I mean, what is a purse bingo event?
So basically, you purchase a table, you sponsor a table, and there are a set amount of designer purses. And you play bingo, and if you win that card, then you get to choose one of the designer purses. And all of the proceeds that are made during this event go towards a nonprofit.
And where do you obtain these designer purses?
That's a secret Sean is going to have to tell you. Now, she's in charge of that, and I don't know where she gets them.
Now, the Shauna that Tammy's talking about is a chiropractor, Dr. Shauna McLean, who I started seeing a couple months ago, and while she was fixing the various ailments in my back, said, you need to get Tammy on your podcast. She needs to explain to people about this fundraiser, so get that done. And I didn't want to argue, so I had to get that done.
Here
so
I am.
I'm pleased to have you here. And hopefully when she listens today, she won't take it out on my spine.
Maybe not, but maybe.
Now, how much, do you have a fundraising goal, how much you'd like to raise off of this in terms of maybe comparison to the ones you've done in the past?
I would love to raise $30,000. That's a great number to start off with. We raised $26,000, I believe, on the first one, and $15,000 on the second one. So why not? Let's just reach for the stars. I'm not a person who, if I'm dreaming, I'm going to dream big. So what's the worst that could happen, you know?
Now, how can people learn more? And when we publish this story about this podcast, I'll put in the flyer that you guys have, and I'll put in whatever, the Facebook group links that you have. But how can people learn more about the Purse Bingo event, and how can they support it?
So you can go on Facebook. There is a Facebook page for it. It's Supporting Veterans Purse Bingo 2025. And you can also email Shauna. It is mvpqueenevents@gmail.com. She will be able to answer all of your questions, or you can honestly call me at the store. Phone number is 567-772-0001.
I'll put those numbers in as well. Very good. Well, Tammy, I want to get back to this, and I said you said you had no choice, but do you have family that was in the military? Did you know someone that was in the military? I'm just trying to dig a little bit deeper into, of all the things you could have chosen to support, how did you wake up that morning and say, it's veterans that I want to support?
So my grandfathers, both of them served, but I was so little when they passed away, I really don't remember them. My family grew up in the VFW. All my family members are life members. And so that's what I grew up knowing, patriotism and love for your country and respect for our soldiers. But that's not why. Honestly, when I woke up that next morning, that was what was laid on my heart. That's what I was supposed to do. So I was just following, I guess, what my purpose was. I didn't choose it. It chose me.
And it seems like it's turned out fairly well so far.
For the veterans, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Well, folks, we'll end this chat here. Tammy, thanks very much for being with us today. We will get some more information out about the Supporting Veterans Purse Bingo event coming up March 8th at the Eastbrook Center on Fifth Avenue in Mansfield. Best of luck with Love Our Heroes. I think it's a great organization. I'm obviously someone in favor of folks doing all they can for military veterans around Richland County. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, our guest next week will be Ontario Mayor Chris Knapp, who recently marked his 6th month in office. And we're going to go ahead and wrap up today's show on that note. Thanks again to all of you for listening to Newsman Weekly. Be sure you do all you can to support Veterans Purse Bingo event coming up March 8th. I'll be back in a second to put a bow on this week's episode. But until then, remember what Mark Twain said. If you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything.